Hello everyone, this is Redact and this game is called Suzerain. So earlier, I think last episode, we talked about some diplomatic and also some other policies. I can't remember. My ministers can't expect me to remember everything. So let's just resume. Right, let's see where we are. So there's some stuff that's been going on. Let's see. Young Swords member found decapitated. Found a decapitated body in an abandoned house. The victim was later identified as Kurg Leinke, high school teacher and member of the local Young Swords Cultural Center. The victim was tortured with hot iron rods before his tongue was cut out. They suspect the Red Youth. Well, we're going to be stamping down on that sort of nonsense. We'll all respect my authority. Or to the oubliette. Young Swords suspected of terror attack. Terror attack occurred during a rally of the left-wing CPS. The attacker appeared working with the Young Swords. The Young Swords is the National Front, yeah. But other organisations connected to open fire of an automatic rifle on protesting civilians. 17 people killed, oh my goodness. Including the attacker who shot himself afterwards. When witnesses testified the rifle was hidden behind a newsstand. Local police are now wary of the tactic. Okay, so lots more of that sort of stuff going on. Mobile mine disaster, oh no. Coal miners collapsed. Emergency response teams were dispatched immediately due to sheer size of the disaster. Additional manpower and supplies were requested from nearby cities. This investigation shows the underground fire was started due to neglect in working conditions by the Needham mining group. They're probably part of some... It's nationalised. Okay. Oh dear. We're going to be in trouble about that. Alright, let's see what's going on in the news. Geopolitical. Van Horten blames Vugsland for the missing fishing vessel. Denounced Vangsland for the missing vessel. Our dutiful Coast Guards rescued a crew member of the missing vessel. Ship's unfortunate end was none other than the Vangslad Navy. Okay, so they're antagonizing each other. The Prime Minister refused to disclose the surviving crew member due to their fear of assassination attempt. Sordland today. School poisoning in Rybel. Arrested the principal of a high school in Rybel in southern Bergia, with 12 students died after eating a free meal laced with pesticide. Who would do that? Students aged 15-17 died after eating a lunch of local dish of zabla. Enrica, FC Derby postponed due to protests. There were intense protests. The league issued a statement regarding the situation. Due to safety reasons, the players were compromised during this time of trouble. They had to postpone the game. Stand in solidarity with our fans, our players, and the people of Enrica. Okay. Radical are going all off on 7 articles. Protesters wind down in Whole Sword. As protests continue nationwide, tensions eased in some cities. Still, several major cities in Cordaia and Lachevin did have some scattered reports of violence. The security measures in Whole Sword and the additional thousands of new police officers aided in curbing the protests. They did do a march. 40 says demonstrators throwing rocks ignored orders to disperse. Okay, we're doing a lot of arrests. Okay, this is about the attacker opening fire. He took the weapon from the newsstand at the square, brandished it and yelled, "Come, I give you freedom," one witness said. The highly charged with freedom was previously associated with Bluish separatists. Minister of the Interior, Lilias Graf, said she has spoken to the chief of the Sword Police and asked him to take strict action. Government will not tolerate any such incident. Perpetrators will not be spared, and nor should they. Economist? Upcoming government budget changes. As the top economy experts in the country, we've been watching the upcoming changes to the government budget very closely. President Anton Rain's first internal economic channel lines ahead, and we will see if he improves his capabilities as a leader who can think ahead. The ramifications of diverting the funding to certain government branches has always been a point of contention for any leader, and it's no different in this case. Yeah, we'll see. Can hold on to the promises. I think the promises was law and order, so we're going to be doing that. Education privatization proved successful. Our editorial team immediately analysed the SIPA report recently revealed to assess the standards of education. We're curious to see how the policies of the last decade have begun changing the performance metrics. How Lesbia increased its education quality. One is privatization efforts led by the Prime Minister Alvarez led to most schools in wealthier neighborhoods to be privatized. This lifted significant budget burden off the state, because the wealthy paid for great education for their kids and were still taxed reasonably in order to divert funds to state schools elsewhere. Second factor was the allowance of minor curricular changes for private institutions that led them to major improvements in student participation, teacher happinesses, and boosted the performance of the institutions. All the improvements in the system, massive amounts of 34 billion lira it raised for Lesbia made it a lucrative option. Sordland desperately needs more capital to tackle the recession. When education is privatized, foreign capital is also aid in establishing quality schools. Okay, so we need to privatize. That should give us some money back. We could do that. Interesting. Okay, so what the radicals got to say for themselves. Time for women to stand up. Always been under pressure by the unequal society and system of discrimination that was built by old men who only knew about war. Time for Sordland to realize we have to respect every individual regardless of their sex and strive to an advanced civilization. Okay. So they want some women's rights. Everyone is equal according to Swordish constitution, but there are no protections against discrimination, which only reinforces the inequity in practice. Okay, well, we'll see. Shocking misogynistic rally. Oh my god, these radical guys. Every day we report out how deep the roots of misogyny goes in our country. We report again when yesterday during a protest by the Sordland League of Women, counter-protesters showed up to disrupt the peaceful rally. The resulting scuffle between the police protesters and the mob. Many were arrested. Okay. Saul needs to answer for his crimes. Looking at history, everything wrong in our country, there's only one figure that everyone points at, Tarquin's soul. He's devolved our country into something much worse than it was before. Committed crimes against humanity. These are always very strident, radical. They're quite funny. But I don't think I'm really going to listen to them. Because it's just too much. They're just too... Yes, they're just too much. According for this trial, we believe it's time for the government opens way for a fair trial by removing the undemocratic and absurd laws that protect him. No, we're not changing the constitution. Democratic elections of Sordland. I think we've seen this before. They're just complaining that we changed it so we're more powerful, because of course I'm going to do that. Police clashes with protesters. Oh, that's the dire one. Okay. As police keep crashing with civilians at this nation in the first few months of Rain's term, Sordland must finally realise that this administration is doomed. More batons, more shields and more bullets will not stop the people from speaking up. We'll just stop listening to you. You're just all nonsense. Labour Union members gather around the city of Valgen to protest against poor condition of workers' rights in Sordland. I know the law gives us nothing on paper. Is this the reality we choose to accept? Our country is relying on the workers to stop the recession, but won't give them anything back. Well, let's see what we can do about your rights, okay? Questioning Solace education. Right, so they're just complaining about how bad the education is. Fine. They're always going to complain about something, that lot. Right, read the report from Whole Sword. Friends Richter, you're in trouble. Recently outlined their demands for a reform package. He declared that without the implementation of term limits and limited decrees, very difficult for him to party stand behind the reform package. Well, we're not going to do it. We don't need your help. NFP has announced that NFP is completely against any threshold reform. Specifically emphasised this would lead to unwanted elements entering the assembly. Yes. Workers' Rights Bill nears completion. The Workers' Rights Bill proposed by Elwin, supported by the Minister of Health Pascal, being prepared for first draft review. Voices from Labour unions showed strong sides of support. Okay. I'm okay with that as long as it doesn't cost me anything. That's the problem. I need the money for my army. Put down these stupid protests in the country. Alright. Preparation of the emergency decree. Yes. Ultimate power is mine soon. I was walking to my office today. Was the day to finally write the emergency act and order the execution of the decree. Talks to leading figures of the old guards were fruitful, and the preparation of the emergency was already underway. I walked in the marble corridors of the palace, thinking about the huge decisions I was going to make. My secretary greeted me at the entrance of my presidential office. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning. How are you today, sir? I'm just fine. Feel better now I've seen you. No, we're not going to be flirty like that. About to make stressful decisions, so I'm not feeling that great. I'm just fine. It's good to hear. She paused before taking my coat. It looked like she had something on her mind. Sordland, it may not be my place to say this, but I'm wondering about your reasoning behind this emergency act. The people want reforms, and delaying them will only lead to more violence. You're right, Sri. It isn't your place. You may be right, but I just don't see any way. Yeah, sorry. Don't see any other way around it. Whatever you say, sir. I'll take your coat now. She left to hang up the coat. I walked into my office and sat down. Not long after, also and Lucien, Chief Justice, okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. President. It's time to start the emergency period. The situation on the streets got worse after we last met. It's because Mr. Rector made it known that our administration is blocking the reforms. Many are protesting against that now too. Regardless of who they are, what they support, the situation is clear. Now let's see how we proceed with the President's decree. We placed the draft for the Emergency Act in front of me. In accordance with Article 57 and 58 of the Constitution, the state bans and declares the following a national security threat, as they've been found to pose an existential threat for the Republic of Sordland and public security of its citizens. The Young Swords. Emergency Act is justified by the violent acts of the members of the Young Swords against the state, including the shooting of Bernard's Circus near the Marine Palace. They will be declared as a terrorist organisation, and police efforts will be direct against their members and the people who assisted them. Yes, the Red Youth. Emergency Act is justified by the violent actions of the members of the Red Youth, including their plot for communist revolution with the aid of foreign powers. They will be declared a terrorist organisation. The police efforts will be direct against their members and the people who assisted them. Yes. Workers' Party of Blue Deer. Emergency Act is justified by the threatening acts of Blue Deer separatists as they cooperate with Rumberg to start civil war. Workers' Party of Blue Deer will be declared a direct successor of the Blue Deer Freedom Party and in extension will be banned from politics and declared a terrorist organisation. Yes, one more step to ultimate power. On the basis of Article 58 of the Constitution, the following is ordered in defence against national security threats. Suspension of the right for peaceful protest. Right for peaceful protest will be suspended, and extension of the freedom to assemble and organise. Freedom of expression will be restricted. Police may use necessary force to disperse crowds or prevent their gathering. Detention without trial based on strong indications if the person is suspected of crimes committed against internal and external security. But gathering of incriminating evidence is not possible. The suspect may be proposed to be detained until further notice. Increased police authority. Police use of force orders for confiscations as well as the right to stop and frisk are permissible beyond the legal limits otherwise prescribed. Yes, yes, yes. Ultimate power. On the basis of their acts of aggression politics, interfering with the internal affairs and disrespecting the sovereignty of the Republic of Sordland, the state declares a severance of all political ties and denying entry to the citizens of the following nations: United Contana, Arcasia, Rumberg. Ultimate power is mine. Yes. After I made the final changes to the decree, I showed it to them. They read the decree and discussed it amongst themselves. Lucian spoke afterwards. Looks like the only thing left is to sign and declare the order, sir. But I am afraid this will cause further problems for our administration, especially by declaring the Blue Separatists a threat. We should expect violence against Blue citizens in general. What are you worried about? The national security threat. Can't allow Bluish people to support terrorist organisations. They should know better. Well, yeah. Lucian looked at the decree again. I agree with declaring the young swords a threat, especially after the shooting. However, I think we should bring this nationalist wrath upon ourselves. I believe Mr. Kibena may have connections to that organisation. Who's that? Yeah, the National Front guy, yeah. Although I have no problems with him, this should prompt a proper investigation. I agree. Anyone who has connections to them should be investigated. We need to take down all the leaders of our enemy parties. I agree. Anyone who should have connections to them should be investigated. Mr. President, we have to be careful with the situation we're creating here. Actions against Arcasia will not be received lightly. Angering a superpower will be tough on our economy. We will take the proper precautions. What's important here is that we're taking the steps to fight against the communists. Going against United Contanians and banning the Communist Party would definitely make us an enemy of the Contanian Security Pact. Whatever. Can't take this lightly. Well, they shouldn't be messing around in our internal politics, really. We're also acting against Arcasia, Mr. President. We need them against the Eastern powers. I believe it was a difficult decision to make, but Sordland stands alone, Mr. Gallade. You know that. Let's instead focus on what we will be doing. With the order of this decree, we should be able to detain anyone who is suspected of for a crime. I will personally lead an investigation against Mr. Richter, thank you, as soon as any other leads come up. And also the National Front guy, please. All of them. And we'll be able to get rid of them. Yes. To the oubliette! Yes, we must focus on the opposition. Luckily, the people have the authority to the police have the authority to deal with the threats now. But I think suspension of protests and gathering in crowds will be very tough on the budget of the police. People will not like this, especially the reformists. It's precisely who are we against. In any case, what's left to do is to declare the emergency and get it accepted in the Supreme Court. You should plan your speech for the declaration. This will be a big moment for Sordland. I'll be in touch, Mr. President. The Supreme Court will be waiting for the declaration. A new era begins. Yes, it seems so. We all shook hands and left the room. Oh yes. Oh yes. What happened? I've declared a national emergency to respond to different threats. Yes. No one can threaten my authority. Anything else going on? Don't think so. Declaration of the Emergency Act. Let's do it. I recently signed the Emergency Act, which created a ruckus in the Swedish police forces and the Grand National Assembly. Now it was time to make a speech in the Assembly and declare the emergency in public. I walked with quick steps in the corridors of the Grand National Assembly, giving my greetings to the people I encountered on my way towards the Parliamentary Hall. When I entered the hall, the Assembly was in complete chaos, shouting and cursing between the parties. There was a heavy argument about a proposal made by an MP from NFP. That's the National Front Party. Don't care about them. They'll be gone soon. Took my seat inside the special area reserved for the ministers. Gloria was shouting from her seat at the centre of the hall as she hit the gravel 3 times. Who's she? Speaker. Okay. With each strike heavier than the one before. Order! Order! I saw Kasari Kibena standing up from his seat and shouting towards the members of the PFJP. Mr. Kibena, calm yourself. Show respect to the procedures of this assembly. Despite her efforts, the argument continued for a couple of minutes before everyone took to their seats and finally went quiet. Mr. Kibena, next time I tell you to do so, either take your seat or leave the hall, so we can proceed with the procedures of this assembly and continue our duties. Some MPs from the NFP side shouted back at her in protest. Honourable ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me to continue. She pointed at me with her hand. We have the President here with us today as an important declaration to make. The Assembly fell silent, as they should. The President has the floor. I walked to the stand as loud clapping started in the USP side. Honourable members of the Assembly. Honourable members of the Grand National Assembly of Sordland, I am here today to present an important decision of the state concerning the recent troubling developments in Sordland. Focus on the shooting, focus on the clashes between Red Youth and Young Swords. Focus on the Blues Freedom Front and Rumberg's aid. The Red Youth and Young Swords, I think. Sordland is going through critical times. The clashes between extremist political organisations have taken their fights to the streets, started threatening the national security of our country. I brought attention to the threat of the extreme left and right-wing groups. Yeah, both groups are bad. Extremist is bad. Sordland is clearly experiencing a dangerous civil strife between left and right extremist groups, which puts our citizens' lives in danger, and act against our state in the hopes of toppling our government. Today, we find ourselves in a time of emergency. The opposition's members started yelling in protest. No! It's going to happen. Blame the Blue separatists for the plan to occupy Bergia. Blame the communists for a plan to overthrow the government. Blame the ultra-nationalists for a plan to overthrow the government. Blame foreign powers for supporting extremist groups. Yes. Maybe Rumberg will back off. The foreign powers are to be blamed. They are disrespecting the sovereignty of our nation and agitate and support these extremist groups against our country, hopes of toppling our government to establish a puppet state. The state will now react swiftly to these threats. The police will be given increased authority. Surveillance capabilities of the state will be increased. Suspects will not require a trial to be detained. Will be suspended. No, we'll give the police increased authority in regard to the use of force. Certain civilians and orders for confiscations will be permissible beyond their legal limits for the duration of the emergency period, which will extend as long as I want to, which will maybe be the next 40 years. Ha! Surveillance capabilities of the state will be increased. Suspects will not require a trial. The right to assemble in person will be suspended in accordance with Article 57 and 58 of the Constitution. The state holds the right to order these measures to be taken in a situation of emergency like we have today. On the basis of said articles, I hereby declare a state of emergency and order the Emergency Act's swift execution. I hereby declare a state of emergency. No, we're going to have... Yes. There was a loud reaction from the Assembly. No, don't care. A Bluish MP who is regarded as the leader of the independents jumped from his seat and started shouting at me, "To the oubliette! Arrest that man! This is fascism." No, it's not. It's redactism. Gloria hit the gravel again. The President has not finished. No, you must listen to me. I found to take a breather during the loud commotion. Continue with the speech. No, if you say show me some respect, then you shouldn't really have any respect. You shouldn't need to say that. Continue with the speech. These measures, though extraordinary, were completely necessary for us to take. We must be vigilant as a nation in times of crisis, and surely we will be triumphant. And continued among applauses from the USP seats. In accordance with the Emergency Act, Sordland will sever all diplomatic ties with Rumberg for their treacherous actions. We will be responding with an embargo. Same measures will also be taken against United Contana and Arcasia. Sordland will stand alone if needs be. Whatever the case may be, we must be strong. I paused to look at the Assembly. Ladies and gentlemen of the Assembly, we must set aside our differences. Today we must fight for Sordland. I ask everyone to understand the situation. We must finally be brave and strike down the red threat. We must set aside, yes, we must fight for Sordland. USB seats applauded. If the opposition are not applauding, then they don't want to fight for Sordland. Therefore, they're traitors. To the oubliette! We ask everyone's cooperation and support. We will eliminate all who oppose the state. Well, me. I'm the state. Everyone to be patient. We will fight against fascists together. No. Everyone's cooperation and support, please. Thank you very much. I assure you this period will not last long. Oh, no, sorry, I'm not going to lie. The state will swiftly address the situation. Bloodless issue will finally be addressed. Blood separatists will soon be eradicated. The state will swiftly address the situation. I saluted the crowd. For a free Sordland, for a strong Sordland, for peace in Sordland, for legacy of soul. Legacy of... No, I'm not going to do that. For a strong Sordland, for peace. Yes, for peace. The assembly roared with all kinds of different reactions. But most of the USP members applauded. All the opposition yelled in protest as I left the stand. Thank you for the announcement, Mr. President, says Gloria Tory. Sounds of protest gradually increased as I walked towards my seat. Mansuin Lecky started yelling at me again. You are just like Sol. Nope, I'm just like Redact, thank you. Leave the Blue Dish people alone. Well, if they stopped, like, attacking us and things, we would leave them alone. Order! Gentlemen, when you would learn to behave like adults? I left the hall when Gloria diverted their attention back at her. After the reaction I've got, I walked back to the palace in silence. Achievement unlocked, Article 100, whatever that is. Nice. Ultimate power will be mine soon enough. So this will be the end of this episode. We will continue on next episode. See how much more power I can get and who I can blackmail and get rid of. I need to gather all the power to myself. So yes, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Take care, everyone.